That I get that question every week, and you're so focused on, we got home late Sunday night, and yesterday you try to clean up North Dakota, and then you're trying to get set for Northern Iowa. So I really haven't had those thoughts in my mind. Yeah, I haven't. I said last week just playing that first game, but then it hits you. It hit me on Sunday morning at the team dinner. The first game and the emotions. When I was speaking to the team at pregame dinner, and unexpected, but the emotions came too. And I'm sure when we get to Saturday, it's going to happen the same. I don't have those thoughts at all right now. I know it's an honor and privilege, though, to be able to step out on this field and lead this football program.
Coach, now you got a chance to kind of, you said you cleaned up some of the tape with North Dakota. What did you see? How would you kind of assess game one this season?
Wanted to see how our young men would react in adverse conditions. And the one thing we said before the game, don't look at the scoreboard. Even if you're up 14-0, down 14-0, that we were going to evaluate, number one, on your attitude. We're going to evaluate on your effort. We're going to evaluate on how competitive you are each and every down. So we were able to do that. And when we walked away, believe our kids competed. Believe our kids stuck together when things got tough. When it was 11-0 and holding on there, and then coming in the second half, 18-7, and the defense gets a stuff because we talked to them last week about there's no upsets in life, only setups. And I truly believe if we could have put a drive together when it was 18-7 and we get that stop on a tough 3rd and 1 and we get it to 14-15, that we put ourselves in a position to really hammer home that setup. Unfortunately, we didn't get to that. So, but we got some things to clean up. We're not there yet when it comes to technique, when it comes to fundamentals. When we watch tape and, we got to develop our offensive line. And, I'm going to put the onus on me. I'm going to put the onus on our coaches that we got to do a better job coaching. That's why we have a C on our chest to coach and develop these young men. And we got to do a better job of preparing them so that when we get to the game, we can execute a lot better than what we did on Sunday.
I can't wait to play Joe and Mark, and we'll see both of them on Saturday.
Both young men, I thought, offered different things to us in the game. I really liked how Joe came out of the third quarter and we put a drive together. Unfortunately, we weren't able to finish that drive, and that was a very key, critical drive. We're down 11-0. We finally start getting some first downs, which I thought we made the necessary adjustments at half. The thing I loved about our halftime is our kids believed. We win that halftime. We're down 11-0, and we said the whole time we got to take their best punch, and we can't back down. And going into the halftime in the locker room, and our kids were standing up, and our kids were excited, saying, "Coach, man, we took their best punch. We're not backing down. We're going out to play a second half with a chance to win the football game." And to be able to see us put a drive together, again, I wish we could have finished that drive with some points, whether it was 3 or a touchdown. And then for Mark to come out and lead a 15-play drive and be able to put the ball in the end zone and be able to convert on 4th down and 2, I thought, showed a lot about our team, showed a lot about our character. We didn't have a great first half offensively, but you guys, the drive a ball 15 plays in a college football game is not the easiest thing to do, and to be able to finish it with a touchdown. We have a lot of things we know we can build on, but that gives me great confidence in our young men. And both of them, again, are going to play. It's hard to evaluate quarterbacks when you're developing an offensive line. You may not have all your receivers. It's really difficult, and we're using this spring to really see. And I think it'll come out at the end. But right now, I'm giving both those young men opportunities to lead this program.
Defensively, last week you guys gave up over 200 yards. How are you planning on addressing them this
Well, sometimes your best defense is your offense. I thought we kept our defense on the field way too long um, in the first half. We took care of that a little bit in the second half. I think our time of possession was 31 minutes, which, was is if you wouldn't realize that you had the ball that much without getting those first downs in the first half. So we got to take care of our defense. We got to create some explosives. If you look at the touchdown drives North Dakota State had, it was probably off explosive plays, whether it was a big run. So we got to eliminate that. The one thing going into North Dakota State, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to make sure we're lined up. I mean, when you can do that, it allows your kids to play fast and play hard. And we're going to continue to do that this year. We want our kids to play fast and play hard. The one thing we didn't give up was a big play offensively in the passing game. Going back last year and watching that game, and you're watching North Dakota State in 2019, there was a lot of big plays, and we want to eliminate that. So we got to clean up our run fits to make sure we don't give up those explosives. Offensively, though, we got to help our defense out. And how do you got to create your own explosives? That touchdown drive, that 15-play drive, again, you go back, there was an explosive pass play on it. And again, when you see explosives on a drive, it usually results in a touchdown.
This is Frank Stams. I'm doing the color for the game this week, and just to help people understand more about what you mean when you talk about on the offensive line, improve on the fundamentals and technique. If you could kind of break that down for me a little bit, so I can, communicate that to the people watching. As far as mostly in the run game,
Mm-hmm.
and the passing game as well.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in the communication. It starts with the communication. If you're running, the points, who are we working to? What linebacker are we working to? And then the technique, it starts with pad level, Frank. When I look at are they under our eyes, or are we bending our knees? And then the footwork. And what I saw a lot of is, the kids played hard, but they weren't necessarily using the technique that we work each and every day, whether it's the footwork on a combination block and sticking your hips together and finishing it and driving it to the second level and getting to the linebacker. Or we're trying to block everybody, where we're starting to block one and then our head's turning and we see someone and we're trying to do too much. So again, getting back to the basics of, first pad level. Secondly is where you're placing your hands. Are your hands inside? And probably the third thing is just finishing, driving through, not stopping your feet and keep moving the defensive line. So those are the things that we went out on the field today and put a lot of emphasis in and a lot of focus.
Looking at northern Iowa, I always think a successful approach is to make them play left-handed or take away their strengths. What is northern Iowa's biggest strengths that you want to address?
I believe in this league, whether it's North Dakota State, South Dakota State, the one thing that jumps out is just that they're O-line, D-line driven programs across this league. And that's probably where we're going to have to make our most improvement. We're not going to catch them in 3 days, but we can certainly improve. I think from week 1 to week 2, you got to make your greatest jump. Offensively, defensively, offensive line, defensive line. But that's the blueprint that you see across the board in this league is, they do a great job recruiting young men that are maybe 3-sport athletes. When I look at their roster, they are probably basketball players that maybe in high school they're 6'6", 240, and they're not getting, maybe Iowa State calling on them because they don't have the weight. But then all of a sudden, 2 years later, they're 6'6", 6'7", and they're 295 pounds. And then when they graduate, guess what they have? They have another group of young men that have been in the program for 2 years that have developed. And when you get a coach like Coach Farley, who's been there for a long time, they just keep reshuffling those offense and defensive linemen. And that's what jumps out primarily to me in where what we got to battle and where we got to go as a program. And so there's no shortcuts to it. And what you got to do is you got to recruit those type of players, and then we got to do a great job as coaches developing them.
You mentioned a little bit earlier, the emotions caught you. Your first game as a head coach, what did you learn about yourself, maybe, if anything, about being a head coach for the first time?
You're a fireman. T-Zach, Mike Tomzak, and me talk all the time. There's a lot of chaos that goes on in a football game. And, part of it is, the kids look towards you to make sure, that you're handling all the chaos the right way. So there's a lot of things going on in the phones with offense and defense and special teams and substitutions. And, people say what your role is. There's so many situations in a game. You look in that first half of that football game, and, the situations, we didn't have great field position. We needed to flip the field, and we're not flipping the field. So we keep punting, and they're winning the field position battle, and, trying to take care of the ball and not make sure that we give a turnover, that the game could get out of hand if you have a turnover. So a lot of those thoughts, you only get better by doing it. I told our offensive line, 4 of them never played in a college football game before. They're going to get better just by playing. Well, we're going to get better as coaches just by coaching in a game. I learned more about our assistant coaches. I learned more about our team by playing. And during this pandemic, we want to win. There's no excuses. We won't make any excuses why we didn't win. That's on us. That's on me. But a small victory is we played a football game. And to be able to get our young men out on the field and see them run around and see them compete. And even after a loss, one of our young men who never played before said, "Coach, that's the most fun I've ever had in my life." And to see that, I didn't have time to think about me because that first punt, I'm putting an Australian football player that was studying American football on the plane. Like, he has no idea what American football is. I have a true freshman long snapper that's going to be snapping him the football. So I didn't put too much thought in me. I just said, you know what? I'm going to put fires out this whole game, and we got to put our kids in a position that I'm believing we're going to win this game in the second half. And we did it. I wish we could have scored a touchdown there and make it more of a football game. And, again, that's on me, and that's what we're getting back to work this week to make sure that we put our kids in a position to win football game. That's our job. It's put our kids in a position where they can be successful.
Coach Will McElvain was the preseason first-team all-conference quarterback.
Yeah.
What are his strengths?
He's an athlete. I think he's a competitor. When you find a young man that's, not only demonstrates great leadership, competes each and every play, he's going to make something happen. If the pass isn't there, he can do it with his legs. And, to see that fire, he's a great competitor, and he's a great leader for that offense. So, we got our hands full, and we're not going to back down. We're going to prepare our kids the best they can to defend that type of quarterback. It's a lot different than what we went against at North Dakota State. So we got a huge challenge on a short week. But again, not make excuses. We got to make sure we lined up, we're fundamentally sound, and that we can tackle him and we can keep him contained to eliminate him making the big plays.
Coaches, Northern Iowa a faster team than North Dakota State?
Yeah, their receiving core, I do. Just watching the film all day yesterday, just seeing they got a lot of different targets for them. North Dakota State's going to pack those big tight ends. And trust me, Northern Iowa has a great tight end. But they do have a lot of receivers, a lot of athletic receivers, a lot of speed in the perimeter. That I do believe there's more speed on the perimeter and more guys that can hurt you, downfield than maybe what we have seen, that game one. With a quarterback who can keep the ball alive by moving around the pocket, that's what makes it most challenging for our defense.
I saw the one kid,
Hampton.
He
Hampton.
left the game too.
Yes.
Do you anticipate them playing this week?
I do. I do. I anticipate them playing, and number one, McShane. So, like I said, they got a lot of threats. And so it's going to challenge our whole secondary to make sure we do a good job. And our defensive line and linebackers just make sure we contain McIlvain.
Last question for me. Mark Farley, what kind of relationship do you have with him?
I've never, we had Zoom meetings, but we never get real personal in those. With our commissioner. So, I may have met him once. He probably don't remember when I was at Iowa State and at a clinic in the state of Iowa, but nothing. I don't. He probably wouldn't know me if he passed me on the street, but I have great respect for him and what he's built at Northern Iowa. And again, we're going against the blueprints of this league in programs that have shown that you do it the right way, you're going to win a lot of football games. So tremendous respect for him.
Coach, you talked a little bit about the team, how they kind of came together at halftime, and you wanted to see how they were going to react to adversity. What does that tell you about your kids, the way they came together? Why is that so important?
Well, I think the character, one of the plan to win last week was we got to stay together. That old saying, whatever comes out of those gates, whatever happens, for us to survive, from the old Gladiator movie, we got to stay together. So not seeing any fighting or guys yelling or guys losing their heads. I saw guys together. I saw a true brotherhood. They played hard. Those are the things, because you don't know. We went through adversity off the field. We went through plenty of it, whether it was loss of loved ones, loss of a teammate, canceling a football season. But there's still, when you get in a game, it's completely different because it's emotional for them at the moment. It's all emotions building up. And to see them handle the highs and lows, I saw the defense go down when the offense was struggling and was telling those guys, you guys are fine. Just keep fighting. Just keep fighting. And to be able to see the defensive players do that to the offense. And, we gotta be one team when we talk about unit strength, whether it's running back, quarterback, or offense, defense, special teams. But you go out in a battle, it's got to be one team. And that's what I saw, whether it was in three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. And again, we're not there. We're not close to where we need to be. But to be able to see the character of our young men in battle in that situation, I'm proud of them. I am. I'm not happy with the result. We never will be. We want to win games. We want to build this to be a championship program. But I can be proud of the effort and the play hard that they demonstrated on Sunday. Now the key for us is can we do that consistently? Can we do that every day in practice? Can we do that every weekend, every Saturday? So that'll be the challenge we're going to face this week.
Some of the players earlier, don't get me wrong, they're disappointed because they went in there to win the game. But honestly, when we talked to them, they really sound encouraged by the way the game, how close it was, and how they had a chance to win. Did you see this team get more confident just by playing a game, even if it's a loss, just by taking those reps and finding out and kind of answering some of those questions maybe you had, maybe they had about one another? Are they more confident now than they were, 48 hours ago?
Definitely. Yes, they are. And going in, I said, there's 6 teams not playing this weekend. And, whether it was weather, whether it was COVID, I said, we're playing. And to have the ability to go in there, our offensive line's going to develop. But you can only develop an offensive line by playing football games. You can go do all the individual work you want. You can go work in practice. But until you play that game, until you get something on film and then come off and teach and get back on the field and show that improvement. And our offensive line isn't where it needs to be. But guess what? They're going to be better this week than they were last week. By game 5, they're going to be a lot better than they were game 1. By fall of next year, they're going to be 80% better than what they were this game one. So playing games and building that confidence, I definitely see that in our young men. And the only way you can build confidence is by playing football games. So we're fortunate enough to be able to do that.
It seems like you came out for not playing a game in over a year. The team came out pretty healthy. Dealing with COVID and everything else. Health-wise, you okay?
Yes, our players came out. We had a full padded practice today. Like I said, it's a quick turnaround. But sometimes coming off a loss and coming off the road, a quick turnaround isn't always a bad thing because you have no time to think. You get no days off. You're working in the office long. Kids are back in the weight room, back in the meetings, and back on the practice field. And guess what? We're going to be on that field real quick. So sometimes those are beneficial, and we're definitely going to look to use that as a positive thing for this week.
But we talked a lot about the UNI offense and McElwain and how they played. What about the defense?
9 starters back. So, when I'm watching them, I'm watching the triple overtime against Iowa State. And Iowa State's a great football program from the 2019 season. And, they gave everything that game just watching. And I'm saying I see the same exact players on that field in that game. And knowing that team went, they played 14 games last year or 15 games last year. In 2000, I shouldn't say last year. I'm talking 17 months ago. They played 15 football games, and they got 9 of those starters coming back. So, it doesn't get easier. So we better learn right now that, we're going into another challenge, another tough physical football game. And we got to be ready to take their punch and not back down and be ready to fight for 4 quarters again.
Last thing, Coach, the QB situation, how do you kind of decide, all right, I'm going to let this guy go another series. I'm going to keep him out there. All right, maybe it's time for a change. How do you make those decisions in game when, like you said, there's a lot of emotion going on. There's a lot of fires to put out. How do you kind of make that decision when you got everything else going along around you?
It's definitely a feel. You hope your young men. You hope that you can feel when there's momentum going. You hope that when, hey, we need a little boost here. And again, I know everyone always wants to say, hey, when is there ever going to be a starter? And I truly believe in a year that we're playing a winter season, in the year where you have COVID and you don't know who's at practice, who's going to be in the game, what receivers you have, what O-line, that it's hard to truly give those guys a true evaluation because that lineup can change daily, and it does change daily. And to be able to try to evaluate and say, oh, you're the one is difficult. And so until we get to that point, and I think there will be a time and place where, guess what? We're going to have to make that decision. But right now, I don't think it's fair to either of them. So it's based on the momentum of the game, just like there. I thought Joe came out of the third quarter, put together a drive, hit some passes, stayed in the pocket, unblocked linebacker, delivers it to Burgett, takes the hit, did a tremendous job. We didn't score. Come back out. We knew we were going with Mark on that second drive. Mark was fortunate on that drive. Guess what? We put together a drive and we scored a touchdown. I felt we had momentum at that moment of the ball game. I looked in the eyes of our players, made the decision. We're going to stay with Mark the rest of the game. Right, wrong, indifference. Those sometimes are the decisions you got to make in the heat of the moment.